Now, I asked the manufacturer for what makes this a premium machine, and they gave me an entire list of features and benefits of their equipment that makes it premium. But one of the things they mentioned was hydraulic over hydraulic controls instead of hydraulic over electric controls. And Kubota told me the same thing. Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and today I want to introduce you to an equipment manufacturer that most of you have probably never heard of. Now, it seems to me, from my first impressions, that this brand makes premium equipment, and they've actually got a US dealer network. But most of the people I talk to have never heard of this brand. Now, I've only got a very small amount of time on these machines so far, so I can't give you a full review today. What I'm going to do today is give you my initial impressions and where I think this brand fits in the market. But I have a long-term demo on 2 of these machines, and what I'm going to do is try to abuse them, put a bunch of hours on them, put them in tough situations, and see how they hold up. At the end of that time, there's a possibility I come back and say, here's the problems I found, or these are the issues. But today, just my initial test, I'm blown away by the difference between these machines and some of the competitors that I've tested in previous videos. So as far as how I'm going to test these machines out, the first project is going to be dredging out this pond, getting all the muck out, rebuilding my island, digging out under the bridge, placing the steel for the new bridge. This is going to be a big testing ground. After that, I'm going to take these machines up onto Rock Hill and finish the project of pulling all that rock off the hill and extending my trail and widening it. Those are 2 very challenging situations for a piece of equipment. So to cut through the suspense, the brand I'm talking about is Sunward. Now, Sunward makes a wide variety of heavy equipment. This is a 3.5-ton excavator. This is another brand that we're going to use for comparison that is also a 3.5-ton, although apparently 3.5-ton can mean a few different things. And this is a 1.8-ton excavator. Now, I have the size of excavator that I'm the most interested in, and a size that I think a lot of my audience would be interested in. But unlike a lot of the other Chinese manufacturers that I've demonstrated on the channel, this is not a company that specializes in really small homeowner equipment. This company, actually, one of their specialties is really large, like oil drilling rigs, massive machines. And they make excavators up to 40 tons. We're talking about a machine that's like 12 foot wide and weighs 80,000 pounds. So they make all kinds of full-size equipment, and everything from a tiny little gas-powered excavator to those monster machines. They also make full-size skid steers that would be comparable to that John Deere 325G that I owned. And hopefully, if everything goes according to plan with this demo and I'm happy with the machines, I might get the opportunity to show some of that other equipment here on the channel. Now, in case you're new here, a large part of what I do is review equipment, and I've had the opportunity to run literally, I would say, almost every brand of excavator, at least in a small demo form. And then out here on the property, I've done week-long rentals on a Yanmar, a Bobcat, and a Kubota 3.5-ton excavator. I also did a week-long rental before the YouTube channel on a 5-ton. And I think it might have been like a Komatsu or something like that. So I've got a lot of seat time in different types of excavators. Now, this green machine right here is your typical Chinese mini excavator that you can get for, less than half of the price of a name brand. I think it's going to be a really interesting comparison to see how it stacks up against this one. And I think a better experiment is going to be to take the Sunward and see how it compares to a Bobcat or a Kubota or a John Deere or one of those brands. Because from everything I can see, this is a comparable quality machine to the big name brands like I'm talking about, but you're going to save a ton of money with a brand like this. So both of these on paper are 3.5-ton excavators, but look at the difference between the booms. So right now I've got it lined up where the nose roller on the tracks are even with each other and the front of the cab is even with each other. And actually, just slightly, this green excavator is sticking forward a little bit more. But then we look at it right here, and the height and the reach of the boom, the huge difference. And I honestly think we might have a good comparison in which one of these two machines has more power to dig and better performance. Because this is a much smaller machine, but I think it might be able to compete with this one, and we're gonna find out. So when we're talking about excavators this size, you know, a Kubota or a Coyote might be a $70,000 machine, and there's a lot of variation. Do you want it with a cab? Do you want it with a thumb? Do you want it stripped down, base model? Where you might be $55,000 up to $80,000 or $90,000. So that's the price range. Now a machine like this, you might be able to get for $30,000, and a machine like this is going to be $40,000, or, you know, I don't have exact pricing, but I'm trying to give you a ballpark for how these machines fit in the market. Now let's take a look at a couple more things. Here is, once again, we have the nose roller on the tracks lined up between these machines. And the green machine is out just a little bit further. But then look at the blade. Look how much further out the blade sticks on this machine compared to that one. And it's at a little bit of an angle, so it's not even showing it as well as it is. Now look at the thickness of the steel on this. That's at least 3/4 of an inch steel, if not a full inch. See, the blade is actually a fully enclosed unit, like it's tubing to reinforce this front pusher area. Whereas this one is just like a plate steel. And you can see in the limited hours I've put on this, I've bent the corner back. Now where we had an 3/4 or an inch thick steel on that other excavator, you know, this stuff is 1/4 inch thick. Now it is on tubing. Now here's what's really interesting about this. I took this excavator and did a comparison head to head between this and another one of the less expensive Chinese excavators. And I actually thought that this excavator compared favorably. And in one instance, I even said that the blade on this machine was stronger built than the blade on the other machine. But it doesn't even stack up when you're comparing it to this machine. So I think it'll be really fun to park this next to a Bobcat and see how it looks. So let's look at some other things. We have soft lines on top of the boom here. This soft line came off the first day I used it, and I reattached it with zip ties. You know, this was actually flopping around and got hung up in some of the stuff I was working on. And you come over here, every bit of this is hardline until you get right to the cylinder. See how much more substantial those lines are? And then when you get down here, they've got this protection on it. This has the hydraulic quick coupler down inside there, so you can switch front end attachments on this excavator without getting off the machine. This is a big one I found out the hard way. I've got a video where I used this excavator for the first time, and it bent the pin that goes through the thumb. And my dealer was awesome. He came out and he rebuilt the thumb, made it stronger, put a harder pin in it, fixed it all up, and I never had any more problems with it. But there is a big problem with the geometry here, that this thumb should be pinned on the same pin as the bucket or the quick coupler for the bucket. And the result of that is that when I was lifting material, when I was trying to pick up a rock between the thumb and the bucket, within the range of swing of the bucket, you had to be in a very tight window to get the thumb to close against the bucket. So essentially, this thumb was not very usable. It was very difficult to actually pick things up with the thumb on this. And I've, you know, done a lot of moving big rocks with it, and the thumb just doesn't do the job it's designed to do. Now that thumb is pinned on the same pin that your bucket attachment goes on. And that makes a huge difference in usability. I've already found that out picking stuff up. It's also just a larger diameter pin. Another problem I had with this excavator is if you close the thumb up against the bucket and then you over curl the bucket a little bit, there's no pressure relief to back this off. It's immediately obvious on that excavator and this smaller one that you have that pressure relief built in. Now that's something we could have added to this machine, but it didn't come with it. Now this video is not about bashing this machine. What I try to do is give perspective. For some guys, it might make sense to buy the most expensive name brand machine you can get. And for some guys, maybe you want a machine at an auction for $8,000 that is just bare bones minimum. You're only going to use it a few hours. And then for a lot of people, I think this is going to be a happy sweet spot, that Sunward is a Chinese manufacturer and they're not licensing their machines out to a bunch of different name brands. This manufacturer is selling this machine themselves in the US, and they have a US dealer network. They have a US parts supply. You'll sometimes see these Sunward machines being used at rental houses, and there are a couple of dealers within like a 2-hour drive of my house. So let's look at a couple other things. Now, this is a cab machine. This one isn't. You know, it's interchangeable. I could have got this one with the cab and this one without. You know, every manufacturer is going to give you both of those options, so it's not really a difference. Now, this machine has an air conditioning unit that blocks your visibility. I've looked at the air-conditioned cab on this. Obviously, you don't have something like that. You've got that full visibility out the back, and the air conditioning unit is integrated like it would be on one of the better-known name brand machines. Now, if you look here, this has your 2 joysticks that control your movement. But if you look down here, it does not have foot controls. What that means is you cannot move the machine and move your boom at the same time. Now, maybe that's a concession you're willing to make. It'll be a little less convenient, but I don't need to move my boom while I'm moving in the machine. I'm not a professional operator. But if you're planning to put a lot of hours on it, you want foot controls that flip up so you don't actually accidentally use them, and flip down when you want to drive with your feet and still be able to use your hands to run the other controls. Now, this is just a footrest. This is a functional pedal. This controls your boom swing, which is something that I've seen on a lot of different models. Now, this machine, the biggest problem I had with it is that it wanted to overheat. Your info screen is right here, and it's tiny, it's very hard to see, and there are no audible alarms. So when this machine would overheat, it was a dangerous situation in terms of protecting my investment that I would have in a machine like this, because how long does a machine have to be overheated before you do serious engine damage? It doesn't take very long. And when that machine would overheat, I would have no indicator telling me that it was overheated. Now, as I was getting ready to hop up here and show you the info screen, something else I noticed standing here is that our seat height is about here on this machine. On the other machine, you're probably 8 or 10 inches lower at least, maybe 12 inches lower sitting in the seat over there. So you've got a lot better visibility here. Now, there is a temperature gauge on that little screen, but it didn't beep. There's no flashing light that I'm going to see. It just has a light on that screen. Now, with this machine, when you turn it on, we've got this screen here that pops up, and we've got a nice fuel gauge here that you're always going to be able to see your fuel level at a glance. And you can see your RPMs at a glance. You got a full set of warning lights. You've got an operator's menu here. You can go into system settings, your running info, machine info, user settings. You've got all this stuff that you can find out about your machines. And just sitting here at a glance, I'm going to know if I have a temperature problem, I'm going to know it. And even the fuel, I had to be really careful with that machine. It was under the armrest, the little screen, to see that I was low on fuel. So you had to be constantly monitoring this, where here it's in your face. Something else about this machine, this is your thumb control. It's so intuitive to be like, you know, I'm curling my bucket, open the thumb, close the thumb. This is all an ideal setup. On the other, my thumb control was down on the floor, and that's usable. This is better. Here's your quick attach bucket controls so that you can sit right here and change buckets or to other attachments. The machine also has auxiliary hydraulic options. So if you want to run something like an auger or a brush cutter or any type of auxiliary hydraulic implement, those are features and options that your dealer can put on this machine. Now, if you want the cheapest machine you can, you buy it without that. But if you want those options, they're available. Here we've got a control for if you want a flashing light and a buzzer when you're moving and backing up. Here you've got your turtle and rabbit mode. I can tell you that rabbit mode actually has nice travel speed. On the other machine, you really couldn't turn in rabbit mode. You almost had to be in turtle mode to make any maneuvers. Rabbit mode was for straight lines. This travels a lot faster. The controls are a lot smoother. Another difference between the bottom dollar machine and this machine is when you lift this, it actually disables everything the way it should. And you've also got more space in here. You're sitting up higher. It's easier to get in and out of the machine. You've got plenty of leg room so that if you're sitting in here all day, you don't have to have your knees all scrunched up. You can sit in a more comfortable fashion. Now, I asked the manufacturer for what makes this a premium machine, and they gave me an entire list of features and benefits of their equipment that makes it premium. But one of the things they mentioned was hydraulic over hydraulic controls instead of hydraulic over electric controls. And Kubota told me the same thing. When I asked Kubota what makes their machines premium, they said they're one of the few manufacturers using hydraulic over hydraulic, and that type of control system gives you better bucket feel and more precise control over what you're doing, especially if you're handling something that you don't want to be reckless with. So that, to me, is the type of detail that's going to make you more of a premium machine. They also mentioned that the only computer on this machine is on the engine. It's not proprietary Sunward software. The fact that this is not proprietary Sunward software means that you can probably take it to any type of service center if you're having a problem that you can't troubleshoot yourself. And then the fact that you don't have a bunch of unnecessary computer controls on here makes it less likely to have a gremlin that you don't know how to chase. I think it's cool when some of the brands have these advanced, like e-hydro kind of technology where it's got all these advanced features. But really, the more mechanical a machine is, the better in my mind. Now, I'm still learning about this machine, but something else I noticed is you can enter a password and you can password protect the control system. You've also got a lockable fuel tank, which is kind of nice. You've got a lockable rear entry or rear access. There's your Kubota engine. We've also got an access panel here. Everything opens up to make this easy to work on. You can access everything from here. Here's your battery disconnect. So you can shut that disconnect off and then lock this door as an anti-theft. You can also, as I said, lock your fuel. You can put a passcode on the machine. And here's your coolant. I'm guessing this is the hydraulic fluid reservoir. Here's your nice big valve setup for all your hydraulics. They were also telling me that all your hydraulic pumps and your valves and all that are from name brand providers. So you're going to always be able to get access to all of those types of parts. Another small difference, like here's the top of the tracks. You've got 4 inches there of extra track height. One of the problems I have with this machine is rolling the tracks off. So even though I feel like I've used this a lot, it does not have many hours on it. And I think I've put a track back on this machine maybe 5 or 6 times. Now here we have a larger, more robust track it's wider. Whereas this track is the width of my hand from index to thumb. And then here you've got that much extra track width, that much extra track height. So if we're comparing this machine to this machine, there really is no comparison. Anybody could walk up to these if you've ever ran a machine and immediately tell that this is a better machine than this one. Now it costs more, but it's still dramatically less expensive than a Bobcat or a Kubota or a Hitachi or any of those brands. So I'd love it if you guys jumped in the comment section and told Sunward that you love seeing this equipment on my channel so I can continue these extended demos. And I can take these machines and get a second operator out here and spend a week redoing this pond, rebuilding the dam, building the second bridge, cutting new trails up on Rock Hill. Getting access to these machines allows me to get my work done on the property, and what I really hope is it provides value to you guys who are considering putting your hard-earned money into a piece of equipment, and you're searching out the best value to say, I don't want the most expensive, but I also don't want cheap junk. And my goal is to try to help you find that happy medium. So thank you to Sunward for allowing me the opportunity to demonstrate these machines on the channel. Thank you for watching the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.